It is Kenya's largest infrastructure project ever undertaken, set to be launched tomorrow by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Though the 472-kilometer rail network will cost you about 447 billion shillings, I beg your pardon, and the distance there will be 472 kilometers. Let's take a look at those numbers quite closely here, because of course the matter has been about the cost of the train and of course the distance. That's 447 billion shillings. The distance there is 472 kilometers, and the project duration has been 4 years, of course, tomorrow being the launch of that period. So just an overall perspective. So looking at the figures, how is the government going to fund this? Well, a closer look at the numbers reveals that, of course, the huge amount came in from the China Exim Bank, where we got 294.3 billion shillings. And of course, the government coming in there and contributing 32.7 billion shillings. Now, how will the government come up with that 32.7 billion shillings? What we're meant to understand is that the government will impose a railway levy, which is actually on every container imported to Kenya at 1.5%. That's now bringing the total to 447 billion shillings. Moving over, of course, and looking at some of the other facts and figures of the standard gauge railway project, the speed there, now there are two trains here, where we have the passenger train and the cargo train. So looking at the speed of the passenger train, will be 120 kilometers per hour. Some bit of, primary school math there. So you're looking at a distance of about 472 kilometers, traveling at a speed of 120 kilometers. How long will it take? So of course there you're looking at the time, it's 4 hours and 30 minutes. And of course there are cargo trains taking 6 to 8 hours. Now, a conversation with the talisman, he says that now the 6 to 8 hours difference will mean that the priority will be particularly for the passenger trains, and of course that's why we have the average there of the the cargo trains there between the 6 to 8 hours, because priority is particularly on the passenger trains. So moving over to the next slide, where we look at some of the other facts and figures, the impact, the economy. Of course, this has been attributed on the 22 to 30 million tons. Now, the current capacity of the Mombasa port is about 22 million. Of course, the target is to make sure it's 30 million by 2030. And of course, the road capacity, the idea is to ease off traffic congestion from the road network to the rail. And of course, currently the road network controls about 95% of container traffic. Now, going to cross over to the rail network, that will take it to about 50% to the rail network. So what will that do to the road networks? Of course, now looking at the carbon emission reduction from the road, of course, through all the fumes released by the trucks, from 80% to 40%. So just a very quick overview on the facts and figures. Of course, we're keeping you updated with the details. The issue has been on the cost of travel from Mombasa to Nairobi. And of course, Dan Mwangi earlier in the live saying that perhaps this is meant for the president to release tomorrow. So when I mentioned about Vision 2030, so increasing capacity from 22 million tons at the Mombasa port to about 30 million tons, how is the Vision 2030 board feeling that this will mean for the organization? So let's take a listen to the chairman, Dr. James Mwangi, on the same.
The GDP for Kenya was almost 5 times higher than the GDP of growth rate of sub-Saharan Africa last year, simply because of the railway, the standard gauge line investment. So you can see that the payback has already started. If you look at export, we have now started seeing export significantly growing. We believe domestic tourism, using the standard gauge line, particularly to transport upcountry people, Nairobians, to the port, to the coastal area, to support tourism, we'll start seeing consumption within the domestic market becoming a major driver of the economy. The biggest saving will come from the cost of maintaining the roads that we have significantly been having. And lastly is the cost itself. The cost of transport will come down by at least 40%, both for passengers and for cargo.